Hello and welcome to, I guess, whatever this is. Welcome to my ramblings, I guess, is possibly the way to put this. This is something I've been kind of thinking of doing for a while. Just give myself a place to speak about whatever I like. Just whatever topics I want, mental health, bits of media I'm enjoying, games, general life stuff, kind of whatever. This is the first of that. We'll see how it vibes, we'll see how it goes. I feel like once I've done the first one, then I'll feel a lot better about just recording whatever. I was kind of wanting to make the first one a mental health one, but I realised that's probably a bit heavy, so I should probably not start with that. I think what I should start with is, I don't know. I think I'll probably be talking about education today, and that's because I just handed in my final assignment for this semester today. So I kind of want to talk about that. But I do want to set the precedent that I have some rules to this channel. I don't know if I'm going to have comments on or off. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. I also do want to say I am playing the game live, so I might end up getting distracted because I'm also focusing on playing the game, because I don't think I'm actually that great at multitasking. Certainly not as good as I like to think I am. But yeah, for rules for this channel, everything said is my opinion. The opinion of just someone who exists in the world. I don't expect people to share my opinions, and ultimately this channel is a form of greed where I can kind of say what I want. And it's very selfish. It's a selfish channel. I can just, it's for myself. It's not meant for other people. However, in the case of maybe some, like if I end up talking about mental health and stuff, if those can help people, then that's great. But I want to make it clear that ultimately this is selfish. It's for myself. And that's fine. I don't see any issue with that, but I want to make that clear. And as such, if there is disagreements and people don't like what I say or my opinions on stuff, this is my agreement that it will be settled like adults. If you want to complain, then complain like an adult. Otherwise, I don't want to hear it. If you just dislike me or dislike what I say, then so what? If you disagree, then disagree and move on with it, and I'll move on with it. And that's how we all get along. And that's how it goes. I think I'm glitched, but yeah. Anyway, I wanted to talk about education today, I guess. I've just finished my second year of uni, which is actually my 1.5 year of uni, because I went into second year part-time. I'll probably mention that a bit later, but I've kind of always felt education hasn't really been a great fit for me. And I mean, it's changed over the years. My formative years of education, my first 4 years, they were good. No issues with that. I enjoyed my school. I had friends. Then kind of into year 5 and 6, it kind of went downhill a bit. Friends moved away, started getting bullied a bit. And then, this isn't a sub-story of me getting bullied, by the way. I'm not going to really talk about that at all. I don't really think it holds any value to this conversation. I'm just giving context. So kind of got bullied. It wasn't terrible compared to what other people go through, and also what you probably see in a lot of media. I was just very bad at handling my emotions then. I cannot do these jumps. But then, yeah, moved schools year 7, and then I I was in that school up until the end of not formal education, end of like childhood education, and that was a good school. I had friends. The middle of it was marred by COVID, and I really don't remember much of it at all. Truthfully, I was a terrible student during COVID. Kind of going through my time at that school as a whole. Oh, what the hell has that just done? Going through my kind of education as like at that school as a whole, year 7 was fine. It was fine. There really wasn't much to note of it. I made some friends, and then towards the end of that year, I made my longtime best friend, who I'm still quite close on good terms with, and so that was like year 8. I kind of moved away from that initial friend group, went to this, and started hanging out with these other people, and then it kind of went like that, and then COVID hit. And COVID is a time I really don't remember. I know for other people, it was a clear time in their life. For me, it hit at that time where I was too young to make any productive use out of it, but it was old enough to impact me. I feel quite heavily it's ended up impacting me. If I was like a couple years older, like if I'd finished education, then... But for reference, our year group was the first to have, I'm British, I'm English, so we have GCSEs as our kind of like exams for that part of our life. Our year group was the first to have exams after COVID. The year before us, they just kind of had like guest grades, so they were kind of a bit higher just on average. We were the first year to actually have our exams back, which was like miserable. They had that chance. They could have used that chance to like change how they did exams for like a much better way, but they didn't, because why would they? But no, COVID, it just happened at a time in my life where it's like I was too young to make any use of it, and too old to kind of just let it slip by me with no effect. I was a terrible student during COVID. I basically did no work for months, and I lied to everyone about that. And then the teachers finally contacted my parents, and it was like, yeah, we kind of completely ignored it because he's typically a better student, which I like to think I am. And it's like, he's got months of undone work. We're not going to ask him to do it all because that's absurd. Can he at least do some key stuff just so he's done something, so he's not really far behind? And so I did a little bit, but then that never really caught up. And also COVID had like kind of 2 periods, because it was like there was COVID 1, then we went back to education, and then it was like, nah, you guys have to go home again. I don't remember that split. To me, it was all kind of one in my head, but apparently they were different. I'm sure I handled them the same of not really doing my work at all. But during that time, I would sit at home and just not really do anything. I played games by myself. That's when I played Celeste. Celeste, bloody great game. Love Celeste. Amazing game. Well, I'm not sure if I still have the footage. I had footage of me in that time because part of my one of the GCSEs I did was media studies. Fucking hated media studies. Regret picking it. As part of media studies, I was like, oh, I'll do a music video, because I have a tendency to pick what sounds cool. Like, I'll give myself more work because it makes it sound more interesting, and I know that if I do something that sounds interesting or feels interesting, I have a much more better likelihood of actually like doing it and managing it. And that there's a large track record of that then massively backfiring, because I take on more work and I do the slightly interesting bits. And it's like, well shit, I've got all this extra work and now I hate my life. So I did a music video of Bedroom Community, I think, by, I'm blanking on the artist, the team, I'm blanking on what band is, the band, can't remember what the band is. But yeah, and I remember having footage of me playing Celeste, one of the B-sides, I think. In that. But yeah, COVID was this weird time where if I had been a couple years older, I probably, like, if it was like first year of uni, even, or like end of college, like second year of college, I would have been able to like really focus, and I probably could have used that time quite productively, or at least more productively. However old I was then, I could not. And so my COVID life was just sat indoors by myself, not really chatting to anyone, because I didn't really have any online friends, even though I spent most of my time online. I didn't really chat loads with my school friends. I mean, we said, oh yeah, we'll be on call every day, and that lasted maybe a week at the very start of COVID, and then we never picked it up again. And so it was kind of just, it's this time of my life which I don't really remember at all, which is, it feels weird to like completely blank on like 2 years of my life, because it's like I can remember like my early years of being at that school. I can remember them. I can remember kind of year 7 and then a tiny bit of year 8, but like not much, and then it kind of jumps to just like year 10, and everything in between those points are kind of huge blanks, which I have no idea kind of what I was doing during that time. If you asked me when COVID happened, I'd say 2020, and I'd have no, when COVID happened had no bearing on my actual life, because I just don't remember it to any degree. It's this part of my life which I've weirdly completely blanked on. But I do think it probably had some effect on me. And so, yeah, came out of COVID, and I think it then led us into year 10. So I picked my GCSEs. So I did, well, it was the ones you had to take. So English, math, science, and then I did computer science, which I always knew I wanted to go into the games industry, so that was kind of a no-brainer for me. Business, because I was like, I want to run a game studio one day, so that's a no-brainer. And I was like, maybe I'll do photography. And I was like, no, I'll do media studies, because that'll be better for my future. Even though I was kind of into photography at that time, just a passing hobby, really. I was just enjoying it. But I was like, no, I'll do media studies because it'll probably be better for my future or whatever. And then I hated media studies. Just despised it. And it's what's given me a huge distaste for Taylor Swift's Bad Blood. The amount of times I had to hear that song. I didn't even like the song to begin with. And it was just terrible. Terrible memories of that class. Nothing in particular. Just did not enjoy it. I do wish I took photography. Business was chill. I quite liked the teacher. Same teacher who did my computer science as well. And I mean, computer science was computer science. I did like in the subject because my strengths were always on the actual coding, and then everything with the computer as a whole was kind of not something I was as smart about. So GCSEs were fine. It sucked doing them. But I remember, I think overall, I kind of had a alright time in that school, years 6 to 11. And it was like, no, sorry, 7 to 11. 7 11? But no, it was fine. It was fine, and it's like, whatever. It's like, year 7's kind of, and then it was COVID, which, like I said, I completely blanked any memories of. And then it was GCSEs, and GCSEs were I didn't do great on them, but I also struggled to actually put much effort into them. And so after that, I had a small friend group, kind of 2 friend groups kind of merged in the year 11, and I think that was good for me because that expanded the amount of friends I had, because it was kind of went from a group of 4 of us to a group of 8 of us. And that was cool, because it was like, we merged with another group of 4, which I knew one friend of. I knew them quite well. I knew them since like year 7, and we got quite close over year 7. And then one of those people was like a new student. They just moved there for year 11, and I ended up knowing them quite well because I shared a lot of classes with them. So we got along great. We got along well. And then by the end of year 11, that group massively thinned because on literally the last day, me and another one upset kind of one of the person who transferred in. And I'd apologized because I had become quite good friends with this person. I apologized, but it just seemed like a done deal, and they didn't want to hear it. And I tried to apologize multiple times, and they just never really heard me for it. And there was nothing I could really do about that. And then one of them, who I hadn't been that close with, but had been part of the group, and it was like nothing against them, just weren't particularly close with them. They kind of just disappeared, as far as I'm aware. Whenever it's been spoken of since, it's like no one else has really known what happened. So it's like they just kind of disappeared, and then it kind of went down to 6 of us, I guess, to some degree. Yeah, so it's kind of was like, oh yeah, the year 11 I have quite fond memories of, and then it kind of just went bad right at the very end of it. But that kind of is what led me into college. Then went to college for 2 years doing games design and development, which is what I wanted to do. The games course itself was tragic. It was not a good course. The lecturers we had, lovely people. I'd love to be lectured by them again. They were all great. There was some particularly good lecturers, as there always is. There's always a couple that really stand out. The course itself, though, had just been remade. So it's like the year before us had a course, and it wasn't that great. So they tried remaking it for our year. Turns out they made it worse. So then for the year after us, they got a different course. They got another different course. So it was kind of the year before us got a bad course. Our year got a pretty terrible course. And then the year after us got a great course, which kind of sucked to be sandwiched in the middle, because we had like 3 exams on a games design course. Like, you don't really want exams on a course like that. And especially where one was like, make a game in 20 hours. Like, you can plan it all and prepare it all, but you've just got to then make it in 20 hours. That was kind of funny though, because I ended up making a 2-hour long tutorial video for it for the classmates, and it was funny hearing my voice across the room mid-class when we were practicing. But college, like, for meeting people and making friends, was incredibly good for me. I think college was the peak of my I'm not gonna say peak of my social life, and I'll explain why, but on like being on good terms with a class, by far the best. When it like end of school, like 10, 11, while we were doing GCSEs, that was fine. It was a school where I'd at least never really faced any bullying or much disagreement. The popular kids seemed to like me well enough, and everyone kind of got along well, and so that was good. And there was not much issue with that there. But it's fine, it was a big school. But this was like, year 1 especially, it's like a class of 20 people, and you are only with that class of 20. So everyone got to know each other really well, and everyone ended up becoming like quite good friends. And it became like a class where it's like, you could get paired up with anyone and you'd have no issues. And that was like the first and only time that's really ever happened to me. And that was great. I loved it. I met some really good friends there, people who I'm still in contact with, people who I'm hoping gonna work with, like in actual jobs in the coming future. Some quite talented people. But no, it was like good. And then second year came around and we merged with another class, because there was 3 classes and they merged it down to 2. And that was fine. I never got particularly close to the new group. There was a couple people I chatted with and became friends with, but like not like it was with the first year. we kind of just stuck to our respective classes, and I still remember at the start of second year, like, one of the teachers, like, why aren't you mingling, and like, why aren't you talking a lot? You guys should talk to the other classes. Like, we're going to, we'll just do it in our own time, and we did, and some people became great friends between the two classes. And so college ended quite well, but what ended up happening is there was no one I was like, other than like one or two people, there was no one I was like particularly close with in college. Like, there was a handful of people I'd were closer to, but it's still like, it's not like I kind of went out of my way to do stuff with them. I mean, for anyone who knows me, they can definitely attest to the fact that, like, I'm the type of person who will only reach out if I need something, and that's just kind of me talking. Like, if I need something, I'll reach out. Otherwise, I'm quite bad at reaching out and contacting people and talking to people. And so I kind of left college, going to university, kind of in a fine state, kind of knew people, but it's like no one particularly close. I've realized this is kind of veering from COVID and education to my social life, which should be a different topic. So I'm going to focus back on the original topic, which was education, which is what I do want to kind of majorly talk about. So kind of college was good. Like, the education of it wasn't great. The staff were nice though, and there was no issues in that regard. But when it came to the education itself, it wasn't incredible. I would not describe it as such. And so that's kind of led into uni. And I travel, well, I did currently, okay. I did, for this year, I did travel. But for that year, I lived in the city it was in, because it's not a super far city, but I lived there, I moved there, and I lived there with one of my former classmates, and we were there, and then just some other random people we met in the flat. And that was fine, that was chill. We got along well, and that was fine. The education was really good. It was really good education. But I kind of left the year with reinforced feelings that I'm just not very suitable for education. And that's fine. Some people aren't. Especially in the games industry, many people can get a job without, like, formal education. And there's actually absolutely nothing wrong with it. If you manage to, it's normally just kind of shows that you have a bigger drive. And it actually can be quite a good thing. The problem for me, though, is I kind of really do need that format. I need that structure of being there and someone who can easily hold me accountable and not let me just kind of run away. And the problem is I need that part of the structure, but then the other part is that I'm not very good at, how do I phrase this? I'm not very good at meshing with it. It's like I need it. It's when I do my best work, when I have someone over me making me do my work and who's constantly there. But the problem is, despite that being kind of when I found that I can do my work best, when I have that kind of pressure, despite that, I found that I really don't mesh well with the education system. And that's just because I've found that I really, really kind of just don't like formal education. And I kind of had harsh feelings about it previously, unsurprisingly, considering what I've already said. But it's like, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this in a good way, and I'm struggling. How do I phrase this? It's like, the format of it works quite well, of like, kind of, you are there with a group of people and you all kind of learn. Like, I quite like lectures. I like sitting in lectures. But then it's what they expect to get from you is where I start having trouble. It's like, for example, I have my assignment due today for my second year, which I will speak of in a little bit. But that was an assignment where I had months to do it, and I left it to the last minute and ended up submitting it late, because of course I did. And like, I've left stuff to the last minute before and done crunches overnight. I think for the majority of my assignments in uni, I have done a last minute, like, final day overnight crunch of like pulling an all-nighter, which isn't good, obviously, especially considering where it's kind of a role where you need to have a lot of self-dedication. You need to be able just to get yourself to do that work, and I'm not, and I really struggle with that. So it's this weird bit of I in the class format is good, where it's like being there, having those structured lessons is quite good for me. But then there's the other side of that, where what they then expect you to do with that meshes god awful with me, and I have a terrible time, and it makes me just hate all education. But there's like I said, I loved the lectures. I had a really good lecturer this semester, mainly because they were just someone from industry, someone I kind of actually already knew, just because I happened to be lucky enough to know people in industry in the area. Like, I've spoken to the guy quite a few times and reached out for help and assistance of like what to do to like form my own company, because I still want to do that. Well, maybe that's another topic. Burnout and those sorts of feelings, that's another topic. But I'm talking about education today. This is a problem with me wanting to do this, is I kind of go on tangents and I feel like I'll talk about 20 different things in the process, and it's like, no, I have to keep myself focused on the topic at hand, because I can't do a 5-hour conversation about 20 different topics. I shouldn't. I can. There's nothing stopping me. I have free will. But where was I? Yeah, like, the structure of lessons is good for me, of lectures. Like I said, I had a really good lecturer this semester who I really liked their lectures. I felt like it worked very well to me, and some others it didn't work great for, but I'm the type of person where, honestly, I kind of wish this semester went faster, like in terms of like pace, like teaching speed. Like, I kind of wish it was like, okay, this is what you need to do. I do it, okay, let's move on, instead of having to like wait for people, which is obviously a very selfish thing to say, but I'm allowed to say that here. That's what I said I was allowed to do. So it's just this, I don't know, I probably should have figured out exactly how I feel about it a bit more, but it's fine. It's just this feeling of the format, the structure fits me well, but then the output they want doesn't, and they kind of have to go hand in hand, and it's just, the hands aren't linking, the fingers aren't intertwining, the lips ain't locking, or whatever. I don't know, I'm rambling, but I just kind of wanted to talk about education, because I did my first year and it kind of went okay, it went fine, and then I've kind of went back for my second year, and I decided to go part-time because I was thinking of dropping out. I was honest to God thinking about dropping out, and then I was told, well, why don't you just have a gap year? I was like, okay, well, that makes more sense. Instead of just suddenly dropping out, my parents would never let me just flat out drop out anyway. So it makes more sense just to take a gap year. And so I was kind of talking about that. I was like, well, what would you do? I was like, I'd want to dedicate just to working on just projects for a year, just working on myself. And then what ended up happening is we were talking to a lecturer about it, and they were like, oh, why don't you just do part-time study? Which is what I ended up doing. And the reason I did that, the reason I'm so glad I did part-time studies is, let's say I went through with doing what I was originally planning to do, of just taking a gap year. The problem with taking a gap year is that you do nothing for a year and then you go back and you have a full force, like complete full force education, like what you previously had. And that's fine if you can do everything in a year. But for when you're working on projects, you can't say, okay, I'll have everything wrapped up in a year so I can go back to education. So instead, what you do is you split that work over 2 years. So you say, okay, well, I have 4 semesters in a year. I have four modules in a year, 2 semesters, 2 modules for each semester. Why don't I, instead of just taking a full-on gap, why don't I instead... I don't think I was meant to do that. Why don't I, instead of just taking a full gap like that, why don't I split it over 2 years? So I'll do a single module a semester instead of 2, which means I have way more free time because I only have half the hours. I think, how many hours did I have in the end? I think this semester at least, and I think this was kind of the standard for this year. I think it was the same for the first semester. I had 2 hours of lectures and then 3 hours so I had 5 hours of class time, and previously that would have been 10, which is kind of hard to do to travel in, because another good thing of part-time is I just lived at home and I just traveled in, and sure, the 9 AM classes I had this semester were god awful and I hate whoever scheduled it, and everyone else hated whoever scheduled it for 9 AM. The lecturers didn't want it at 9 AM, that's for sure. So that wasn't great because I had to leave the house at like 6:45, and it's like I have to wake up at 6, and I don't go to sleep till 4 some nights. I feel like I'm wholly rambling and I'm trying to remember the point I'm trying to make. This is normally a good skill if I'm streaming. This is terrible skill if I'm just trying to make a point. Part-time education. Part-time education was good. It fit me. It meant instead of 1 year of nothing and then back to year of full, I have 2 years of kind of more laxed education with way more time to do my own thing. And that's what I ended up doing. And it's been good. The problem is it's kind of reinforced the fact that, okay, I said I was going to talk about burnout a little later, but what ended up happening is in the first semester of my first half of second year, last semester, not the semester I just finished, but the one before that, I was kind of enjoying myself. I was enjoying my work. I was enjoying my work in class as well, which has been a nice change since coming to uni. I kind of generally enjoy my classwork a lot more, except from that first year math module, which I basically did the bare minimum to pass. There was like an actual exam. I don't know why I decided to do the one with the exam, but I did just because I wanted to do the programming course, which I ended up moving off for this year. I should also mention that. So I went for games programming, and then after a year, I was like, actually, I'm going to switch to games design and development, something that's slightly less heavy in code, which felt weird to say as someone who wants to primarily be a programmer. Like, sure, I want to run my own studio, but it's like, I'm a programmer first of all. Like, I can accept that I might not be able to just straight up start my studio, but primarily, I'm a programmer. And that's great and all, except I've just said that I switched off doing programming. I went to not games design and development, I switched to games development, which is kind of a bit more of like a middle between programming and design, which ended up, I think the modules it's gifted me is a lot better, definitely a lot better. But, oh my god. Maybe I shouldn't play a game at the same time. I'm not great at multitasking like this. But kind of what that's led to is the first semester was good. It was good, kind of leading up to the winter, and then the assignment was due, and it was kind of I don't even know when it would have been, actually, time-wise. I'm terrible with my time, I've realised. But it was kind of the end of that semester, kind of having to submit the work crunch. I felt terrible of what I actually submitted because I knew I could have done so much better, especially because it was like the whole point of that module is you make a tool, and I'd spent loads of time making this really cool, intricate tool that I barely used to show off. And I was just really disappointed with what I ended up making. And it completely killed my motivation. And I think that has led to me getting burned out, which, like I said, I want to talk about separately. But the reason I mention it now is because I think one of the few things that was keeping me enjoying education this year was the fact that I enjoyed game dev. But then last semester killed all my motivation for the subject. And as such, I kind of was hating education again. The module we ended up doing this semester, kind of very lucky that it was a lot more business focused. It was about starting your own studio, which was quite good. And it gave me a different focus, but it's still kind of like, I was kind of hating it. And I'm now back to like, I don't know what I want to do. And so I feel like I've had this weird time with education where I keep flip-flopping on it. And it's like that wavy graph where it's like, it's so over, we're so back. It's like that, but instead of it's so over, we're so back, it's so over, it's like, it's alright, it's so over, it's alright. And it's like, that high is not high enough to bring my morale back up. It's like, it's above average, but then the lows are low. And so it's like, it's that raise in morale is not high enough to kind of bring that mood back that I need for me to enjoy education again. Which means it's this really weird spot where it's just like, I never was like a huge fan of education, but I was kind of enjoying it because of what I was learning. But then I've stopped enjoying what I was learning, and so now it's just kind of all terrible. I'm just not enjoying it. But what will be another topic of jobs and like aspirations, I'm sure. It's really hard to keep this on topic of just education because it's everything in my life is so interlinked, I feel. I kind of want to keep the topic somewhat focused. I did slip earlier though, as I just kind of started talking about my social life as well, but that'll be another topic. I'm trying to think of what the hell I was saying. Sorry, I was focused on making that jump for some reason. I really should focus on what the hell I'm saying. Yeah, so it's just like, I already struggled with enjoying education. And then I was enjoying education because of the subject and what it was teaching me. But then I stopped enjoying what it was teaching me. And then it's just made me not enjoy it at all. And that's a problem, because I have another half year of it, and then hopefully I'll do an industry placement for a year, and then I'll have another full year of it. So I've got like at least 2 more years of this, and just kind of that feeling that I had towards the end of like childhood school, which when I kind of hated it, and it was like, the social life was lovely, it's possibly the best kind of consistent social life I've had, but the actual school part I despised. I hated school. My parents could probably say how much I hated school. And then it was like, college was kind of an improvement. It wasn't great in a lot of aspects, but that's just because the course wasn't great, but I had a good enough time with it, so that kind of brought it back. And then uni was kind of like, like, it was fine, but I just didn't feel like I was getting what I needed. Like I said, game dev is very much kind of an industry where people are capable of just doing it themselves. And I feel like I'm the person who has the skills to do it, to do that. The skills to just pull it off by myself. But I don't have that drive and format necessary, which is why I need the education. So I need like the education system's like format of like teaching and like that side of it. But I don't want the side where it's like they actually teach you stuff. I just need someone over my shoulder constantly making sure I'm doing my work, is what I'm realizing. And I don't know where this talk is going to be going. Like I said, I've realised I've been rambling for 40 minutes, and I don't know if I've said literally anything of substance. But like I said, this is just kind of meant to be just somewhere I can ramble. Because I just want to ramble. It's like, I described this to my friend as, imagine you just get a 40-minute voice note from a friend, and you go, I'll listen to it, why not? That's what this is meant to be. So, I hope you've been enjoying this 40-minute voice note so far. But where was I taking this? I don't know. I don't know. I just know I'm not enjoying education. And especially with this last semester, because I handed it, well, I say, actually no, it is still today. It's not a new hour yet, it's not past midnight. It's 10 minutes to. It's currently 11:28 at night. But it was like, I was enjoying this, but I realised I didn't enjoy any of the part where I actually did work. I enjoyed the learning aspect, and I enjoyed the lectures. I enjoyed learning about the industry, but then when it came to doing any of the actual work, I hated it. I hated doing any actual work. And I just sit in class, and it was either be like loud, because a lot of people were chatting because the other module, which they were doing, which I wasn't because I was a part-time student, it floats, was kind of a huge team project where it's like 20 people in a team. So like a lot of them were working on that in this class because it's like, it was when they were all together and they would just go home and work on that module, the module I was doing at home. But it was kind of just like this problem of it was like really loud a lot of the time, and I'm fine with loudness, but it's when it's a lot of different noises. That's what I struggle with. I'm fine with it being loud, but then I like if it was like a school cafeteria, that was terrible for me, because it's like that's a lot of different, very distinct noises. I have a habit of like visually, if I just see something moving or like a light flashing, my eyes will constantly snap to it and I'll constantly lose focus, which is why whenever I die in this game or there's like a bright light flashes, you probably hear me, my mouth, like I just kind of stop talking for a minute as I have to regain all my senses again. But it's just kind of like I struggled with that. And it was whatever, but then it was also like, it was 9 AM classes, so I was tired out of my mind. I did 2 hours of travel to get there, like local transport and then national transport, and like that, it was like, I woke up hella early in the morning, and then had to get public transport for hours to uni. And it's just like, at that point, I'm already mentally exhausted. I'm already quite mentally tired after all that. And then just sat in a room where I sit by myself, kind of working by myself on this module in silence with my headphones on, but they're not good enough to dampen out the noise. It was just like, I couldn't do my work properly, I guess. And I don't know where this tangent's going. Maybe I'm just complaining about the classroom at this point. But it's just like, I don't know. I've really struggled with the actual class aspect of it. And when it comes to doing any actual work, I just didn't have the energy. I was like, felt constantly fatigued. Which isn't a surprise, as I've already said how little sleep I fucking get. And I really should be getting more sleep, but I won't, because to me, night and day make very little difference a lot of the time. Day is only the time we work, because that's when everyone else works, and it has totally nothing to do with the fact that the sun is up, and you need the sun to do a lot of stuff. But yeah, it's just this feeling of, I don't know, I just don't enjoy education, but I need it. I need the format of it, but I don't enjoy actually doing it. I hated doing the work, And then it's just like today, where it's like that final assignment. I could have done this so easily if I knew I could jump off the floor like that. When it was like the final assignment and I kind of crunched, and it was like I was late by like a minute. And so that's like tanked my grade no matter what I do, because it can only be like, if you're late, then it's capped at a pass and no higher, which is like, well, what's the point then? Like, I was late because a video didn't render, and then when the video did render, it was too big for me to even put there, so I had to wait for it to upload to YouTube. God knows how it takes it. It was a 10-minute video. Anyway, yeah, I don't like education. That's the takeaway of this. I don't like education. I need it, and the format works surprisingly well for me, but when it comes to doing any actual work, I hate it. I can't get myself to work, and then it puts me in a terrible mood, and motivation is probably something I should talk about as well. But I just want to kind of save that, because I've realized this has been very rambling. Like I said, that's fine. That's the point. But the point of the mask is, I'm not saying that. Like, it's meant to be very rambly, but still, I'd like it to have some coherence, and I don't know what my point was. I don't think I had a point. Like, when I do some of the other talks that I want to do, like, less serious, like, talking about media I enjoy, they'll have a point, because it's, oh my god, I love this piece of media, let me gush about it to you for however long. I hit the wrong fucking button. But, yeah, it's, I don't know. I hate education. It's not for me, but I'm going to be in it for a while longer still, and I'll live with that. I'll have to. I don't really have a choice. I guess I mentioned this. I said I'd save this for a different... I'll mention it now. My job prospects are A, game industry, which is, for some reason, I chose the worst paying... I chose possibly the worst paying tech industry for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why I went, oh, I want to work in the worst paying part of the tech industry for a living. So it's either that, or I go, well, I want to be a writer, which is more perilous, because it's like, trying to pull off being a writer in this day and age, do you actually think you can do it? To a point where you can make a bloody living off it? Not really. I wouldn't be confident. Some lunatics might. I'm not that type of lunatic. Certainly not. Well, I'll tell myself I'm not. Oh, this is what this does. But yeah, so it's kind of like, those are my job prospects, and it's like, well, it's also content creation, but I don't want to be a content creator for a job. I did when I was a child, but then I realized I hate video editing, so I don't want to. So I'm not going to do that. There we go. So yeah, it's like, well, I've got to kind of stick this out, and the only way I'm going to stop sticking this out is if I happen to pull something off, and I struggle to make myself do stuff, and I'm rambling. I'm just totally rambling. I think I needed to ramble more than I realized. I think I probably needed the ramble. But instead, I've ended up talking about education for an hour, and I don't think any of it was really coherent, but it was what I said, if that means anything. Ultimately, I dislike education. Education's not for me, which is a shame. I wish it was, because I feel like stuff would be so much simpler if my brain worked the same way everyone else's did, and maybe if I could just get myself to actually do the work, then maybe I'd have a better time. And I don't know if the problem is me, or the general education system, or something else. But yeah, I'm stuck in a system I hate. Who would have guessed it? And I don't think I've got anything else to say. I think I'm just dragging it out now. So I'm just gonna stop. What am I gonna ramble about next? Who bloody knows? It'll either be something light-hearted, like a bit of media I enjoy, or it's gonna be something really depressing. We'll see. We'll see what follows up. Yeah, thanks I guess.